evening and welcome to Bent TV, and we are having a very, very special show this evening. It's all about secret women's business. So boys, you should definitely be watching. Okay, so joining me on tonight's panel, I have Danny, who is a playwright, teacher and mother. Man, where do you find the time? Followed by Jen, who is an academic who studies queer families. Interesting, we'll get back to that. Emma, we have here also a director and self-confessed sex fiend. All right, I'm glad I'm sitting next to you, Emma. So we're going to be talking about things to do with the ladies. Now, before we came on air, I was asking whether the ladies like to be called ladies, but we're not sure that that's kind of the term to use.
I think it implies too much pressure. Lady makes you think, what are the expectations here? What must I do?
There's etiquette involved with lady.
Are you talking like crossing of the legs and the skirts? Where's the skirt got to be? And
I don't even know that's why it's too much pressure, because I have no concept of what is required.
Yep.
Yeah, I see. So old school lady that's not a good term, but I was thinking as in sexy lady, you know.
But you've got to be the right kind of personality to get away with that.
Okay.
Like if I said, hey, sexy lady, to someone, probably not going to go down.
I don't know about that,
cool
Jen. I don't know. So I was saying that I was channeling some James Brown with the lady, but can I carry it off?
You probably could. I think you'd get away with that.
Good. So we have the lovely ladies gathered here this evening to talk about stuff that is important to queer women. So we have gathered a panel of people who are involved in getting a queer play up. So you girls might be able to tell us a little bit about the difficulties you have faced in that kind of area.
Well, the play was written because of difficulties I've seen as a teacher. It's about diverse family types, and the main character is a little girl who's got two mums, and she's feeling insecure about that because of what she perceives a family must be from what she's seen on TV and in books and in movies. And do you want to say a bit more about it? Or?
Yeah, I think it's a really refreshing and dynamic new theatre production that Danny's written, and I guess it breaks down stereotypes about what a family is, and it also allows for children who grow up in, diverse family types to actually go and be part of a theatre production, because it's an interactive theatre production that they can relate to.
So it's written for children?
That's it is.
Oh, cool.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's an interactive theatre production, so, we're actually getting children in the audience to participate as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
But the problems that I saw that were the reason it was written were kids in my classes who were upset about not being part of that stereotypical family type. Okay. Kids who have alternative families, or kids from split families who really just took it on board as something that was wrong about them or their families, and it just was heartbreaking. And I said, no, we have to have something that gets out to those kids, but also to kids who are from mainstream families, to know that their family type isn't the only type, it's not the right type. So it's sort of, that was the problem that I saw trying to...
So were you finding even little kids really buying into that?
Yeah, especially, because they especially have it, they're the ones who have it constantly coming at them with the Disney princesses and all of this kind of constantly enforced fairy tales. Every picture book you pick up, it's white mum, white dad and 2.5 white kids, and it's, if you're not that, then it does constantly get ingrained in these kids. They just see it, and
It's interesting. I've got a 2-year-old, and even now he sort of is aware of daddies and mummies, and he talks about, and I don't think he really understands what it means, but he's already got a kind of language around
my 3-year-old's
what
the same.
people do,
she's
what
obsessed.
families are like.
Yeah, she's always like, you be daddy pig, and the 3 pigs, and I'm like, no, can I just be mummy pig and mummy pig and little pig? And she just can't handle that concept. And
wow, interesting.
It's something to address with them. That's part of it. I wanted my kids to see it.
Yeah.
I wanted my kids' friends to see it, and I wanted as many children who haven't seen any other family types to see it. So that was the point.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if it's changing a little because my son goes to a school and on the first day I met a mother who was part of a family of 2 mothers, and her son had come to school in a skirt. And so I wondered whether, this is in Brunswick, however, whether Brunswick is a different kind of place, I'm not sure. But yes, I'm wondering whether it is starting to change, do you think? I mean, Jen,
I probably wouldn't
research?
send my child to school in a skirt in Broadmeadows.
Okay, no, Broadie's quite a different matter, I'm sure. Yep.
In our research, we actually didn't find a huge amount of discrimination. But it's really hard to know because we asked about incidents of discrimination, and it's sort of... It's a funny line about what you actually call discrimination. An act of bullying is quite clear.
Yeah.
But a child just feeling a bit left out or a bit different, you wouldn't necessarily call that discrimination, but it's certainly not something to ignore, I guess. So it's sort of hard to pick up some of that stuff in the research we've done.
It's difficult too because children are just cruel in general, right? And so it's hard to tell whether there's a sort of persecution going on for any reason except the fact that they're being cruel children, I find.
Yeah, and you don't want to find discrimination where it's not there. You kind of got to, I don't know, think the best in people.
But in seeing that kids are cruel, kids will often try and hide things about themselves that they, even if it wouldn't cause any issue, that they feel might because of the difference. And that's where...
That's what I've always been more worried about. It's not so much that my son might get bullied, but that he might have to grow up with that guardedness.
Yeah. Well, this is true because my son, Morris, who is the one that goes to the school with the boy who wears a skirt, he has trouble because his favourite colour is pink. And he let that slip once, and the girls were on him like, oh, you like pink? Like, crazy, right? Like, something so simple. So I wonder, I think you're doing the right thing. We need to educate the kids, right? And that's where it starts,
They get socialised.
I think the reality is, though, that kids will always be singled out and picked on for being different in any way.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately just the reality of the world that we live in. And so I guess it's just about preparing kids and equipping them with the skills to be able to manage those interactions in the most...
And there's a lot of research that suggests queer families are really good at doing that. And in fact, the kids of queer parents are much more resilient in that sense because there's been a dialogue around that. There's been a certain anticipation that this might happen and a certain openness to dealing with that. And kids are resilient too.
Thankfully, kids are resilient, and we are talking secret women's business, so we will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Bent TV's show on secret women's business. And so I'm here with some wonderful women, or ladies, we're not sure which one we are.
Women.
Women. Chicks, possibly, yeah. And we were talking about all things related to being queer and a woman. And I wanted to ask your opinion on the media representation of queer women and whether you think it's, worthwhile, whether it actually represents us at all. I was thinking back to when I first saw a kiss between 2 women on TV. That was way back, I think. I think Roseanne was the first one, followed closely by Ellen, and the furore that it created. But also, we do keep seeing these kisses between the ladies, Britney Spears, etc., and we don't see any men kissing at all in the mainstream apart from, queer as folk. But what do you think that's about?
I don't think guys can come back from a gay kiss, whereas girls, it's so out there all the time for girls, it's like tantalising thing for guys to see, and you go to straight clubs. Yeah. Not that I do, but you go to these clubs and then there's girls dancing together, sexually kissing to attract the guys as well. So
is that what that's about?
So you don't see two guys doing it together to get the girls' attention, although it might work. They wouldn't do it.
Actually, that reminds me of a story. When I was at a club once, it was a straight club, and I found a nice bi lady, and I don't know, we just seemed to know the bi ladies, and so I made a beeline for her. We ended up having a bit of a snog, and a guy bought his chair, sat it down in front of us to just watch us do it.
Yeah. That story.
Oh, I don't know. Is it worse than that?
No.
So, okay, so maybe it's the fact that the straight males kind of like it. That's why it keeps popping up, do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
You go.
There's just a very much novelty aspect to it, I think. I mean, you know, you just have to take Katy Perry's song, I Kissed a Girl, you know, like, and it just makes a game out of it.
Yeah.
And so it kind of trivialises our relationships in a way, which I find kind of offensive.
Yeah, the whole tenet of that song was probably my boyfriend won't mind because it's a girl. It's not like the same as if I kissed another man and that would have actually been cheating or something.
Yeah, I know. And so it does. It trivialises our relationships, I think, when mainstream get hold of it.
But the question then is any representation a good thing?
Yeah.
So there's this sanitised kiss on Home and Away and it's a bit trivialised or something.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it, but
was
it still a good thing that it's there?
I think it's better than the days of Xena when we would sit there and watch, going, come on, Gabrielle and Xena have to kiss. And it would be like, oh, they have to share water, or there'd be some reason why their lips are coming together, but they could never actually be kissing.
But at least Xena was aware of it and they played with it. And it was sort of cool for what it was.
I mean, I do love Xena, but it was frustrating at the time to go, you know, is it that horrible to watch two women kiss that we can't see it? And now it's everywhere, but it's not real.
Yeah.
It's like you can't have the relationship and the kiss. You can have the kiss without any follow-up to that person's relationship, but you can't have both.
And you certainly can't have an ordinary, everyday lesbian.
I was going to say, because the L word is sort of, it's getting there, but they all are, like, drop dead gorgeous, right?
Oh, that's not real life? What? Oh.
Well, I know that all of us here are drop dead gorgeous, obviously, but, you know, like, that's, again, I guess it's a stylised TV kind of representation, so what else can you expect? But it would be nice, wouldn't it, to see some kind of, like, you know, average chicks?
In a way, but then it's still got to be good TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know, you know, you don't necessarily all have to be beautiful for good TV, but you need a bit of drama, otherwise it could be boring.
Yeah.
I remember having this conversation with people when that movie The Kids Are All Right came out, and everyone was sort of saying, oh, she slept with the donor and it's bad representation of lesbian families. And I didn't necessarily disagree with that, but at the same time it was a movie and it needed a storyline, and it actually probably depicted, you know, a realistic tension that could occur in families like this. And do we need to be depicted as perfect? Because we're not.
Yeah. Hell no. No, indeed. And what you're saying is it's good to have it out there. It's actually, you know, it's now hitting mainstream. The, you know, the kind of lesbian, bi kind of stories are sneaking into Glee, etc. So that's good, right?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
And it's making people talk as well, right?
And particularly given that it's aimed at a younger audience,
Yeah.
so, you know, it's making it more visible to, you know, the newer generation.
Yeah, kids questioning their sexuality.
It's becoming so much more acceptable, I
Yeah.
think, these days. I mean, when I was in high school, there was nothing like that on TV.
Absolutely. True.
Nothing.
I read an interview with one of the Glee stars, and apparently he was saying that quite often they'll ask, oh, which couple should get together on Glee, and he'd hear people saying, oh, Britney and Santana.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, no one would ever have said that 10 years ago.
Well, that's cool, isn't it? So you guys are doing a play. So this one's for more educating families.
Yeah, it's for kids mainly.
So your next play that you're trying to...
I've written another play, which is another sort of area of queer life, I guess, or lesbian sort of representation, is very, very different. Very different demographic it's aimed towards. Yeah. Don't bring the kids.
Okay.
It's set... I've written it, but it's all still in the pipeline. It's set in a women's prison in the future.
Oh, awesome.
And it's kind of very much, it's very dark. It's very much a... my favourite books are 1984 and A Brave New World. So it's very much I kind of call it a political sci-fi thriller love story with a twist. And it's very dark. It's just about from within this prison you get a view of what the world outside is like, and it's a pretty scary world. So yeah, and of course it's a women's prison, so she's the main character is in there trying to free her wife who's been arrested for murder, and she no one's ever escaped, and yeah, it's kind of
Wow, it sounds full on. So, but it does remind me.
To direct, I can tell you.
It reminds me of Bad Girls.
Yes,
And it'll be great to direct it. I can tell you, I'm very much looking
So
forward
we're
to
expecting
directing it.
quite a bit more sex than your current, your last part.
Oh well, going from none
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
no, it's very different audience, but it's going to be fun, a lot of fun to do. So. Yeah. And a lot of very different representation there as well, because in this one, although you think women's prison and you think, oh, hello porn, the whole thing centres around this relationship where she's totally in love with her wife and she wants to get her back and she'll do anything and she's giving up everything to go and find her. And I'm not going to tell you the twist, but
Oh, we can't wait. We absolutely can't wait to see that. But
Actually, prisons are interesting in terms of media representation.
yeah.
Like,
Now we'll have to go back to this straight after the break. Stay with us. And welcome back to Bent TV, and I'm here with my chicks, talking all things women. And we were talking before the break about prison love. So, have you got something to add to the
well, I was
discussion?
just thinking it's quite interesting if you look at TV kind of through history.
Yeah.
Prisons have been this opportunity for an exploration of sexuality
Oh,
that's a
you're
little
talking like
bit out of the
Prisoner as well, right? Yeah,
It's
sure.
like anything goes. You've got this setting that's not really in society, that people are in a different environment. There's potential for situational homosexuality.
Yeah.
So you kind of get some interesting gay and lesbian scenes and relationships and things in prison settings that seem, it's like mainstream TV can get away with it
but people think
if it's in a prison.
Yeah. But people think the same thing about girls' boarding schools.
Yes.
And having gone to a girls' boarding school, I would tell you that it is the most homophobic environment. It's like they would rather you were a serial killer than a lesbian, because at least if you're a serial killer, they don't actually assume you're going after them.
Yeah,
But if you're a lesbian, everything, you're, oh my God, you're so into me. And I'm like, no. Really, no. Sorry. Like, do you think every guy is into you? No.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting point, actually, because I was interested to know when you first started thinking maybe, you were a little bit queer, the first awakenings, because in a school sense, it's quite a difficult, time, isn't it? And like you say, say in the locker room, it's a fine line, right? Like, and girls that are not queer really seem to have a bit of trouble, right, with the idea. So anyone want to talk about their first awakenings?
I was very clueless about it all.
Yeah.
Being in the boarding, I wrote a story about a lesbian in a boarding house, and kept telling people, no, it's just fiction. I just really sympathise with their cause, the gays.
How old were you when you were
14. I had no idea. I really didn't think I was gay. And
Isn't it funny though how you can be so close around the edges but not realise? I remember reading a novel in which there were a lesbian couple, and I read it probably 15 times that book, and when I was about 11. It didn't click that it was sort of, I found, some connection with that novel at all till years later when I was thinking, interesting. I liked that so much.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Yeah, you kept thumbing through the references to the women's body parts and things, I find. Yeah, so that's nice. Oh, yeah, sure. What about you, Emma?
I started early.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
This is a self-confessed sex fiend. Sure, yes.
I was 15.
Yeah.
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 And she was 21.
Wow. You're going to have to tell us more now.
Yeah.
My best friend's sister.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would have gone down well, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was all very clandestine. And yes, my friend wasn't aware of what was going on when I had sleepovers at her house.
Were you sneaking out of her room into the sister's room?
Yep.
That'd make a good movie.
Yeah, I know.
Did that last very long?
Oh, probably about 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gee, impressive.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, so that was my first foray.
Okay, so that's interesting. So we were going to talk about maybe, when you're young and whether you, you sort of went for dolls, or whether, was there any kind of indication earlier that you didn't kind of fit the mould of the girl or the lady, like I can always remember my dad would, just bring me guns. Like I would get to play with guns, which I love.
Responsible parenting.
Real guns, ladies, obviously, but guns and Star Wars figures and stuff. None of this like Barbie nonsense, right? So
I was very much a tomboy when I was like a young girl, and I mean, I don't know whether that was the fact that I had an older brother, and it was just the two of us, and so it would be hanging out with my brother and kicking around with him, and riding bikes and scooters and
BMX bandit. Is that what you're talking?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, no, I was an only child, and I got given a Barbie doll when I was about 7. And
did you just undress her? Is that what you did?
No, no. And I'm a bit hesitant to say this after mentioning serial killers, but I had been reading a book about the Salem witch trials, and I burnt her at the stake.
Hey, that's what she deserved.
I'm perfectly sane, I promise you. But, I guess I didn't fit the mould then.
My 5-year-old burned her Barbie at the stake.
Nice.
Taking her to a
smell? It's not, I don't recommend it.
Oh, no.
It's funny.
Yeah. Well, she's a really bad doll for little girls, I think, really.
Better than Bratz.
I guess so.
I know.
Yeah, they're a bit strange, aren't they? They've got a very big head. What's up with that?
They're horrible. They have these new ones which are baby Bratz, and it's basically a toddler-shaped doll with eye makeup and
porn star
fishnets,
No.
and it is the scariest, most horrific thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
I'm not banning my kids from having anything if they get given a toy, but if they ever get given that, it's going to be a look, throw away. Here's $10. Go find something else, because I don't want my children to have those.
What about the kids in your class? Do you see any kind of, they bring that sort of stuff? I suppose they're not allowed to bring toys to school.
No, but they wear the tops with all that, the kind of Hannah Montana-y kind of...
The Playboy kind of thing.
And they do the dancing.
Yes.
The video hits dancing, and there's nothing scarier than watching a 7-year-old gyrating along to something they've seen on video hits. Because I just get, I'm very much of a I don't want to see anything that's not age appropriate. But
well, this is the porno chic kind of thing that's happening at the moment is kind of scary. And I remember seeing a young, I think she was 6-year-old doing a dance to She Bangs. And that was really disturbing to me, but
but you think it's just now. But I remember my ex partner had a video of her at 6 or 7 dancing and singing along to a chorus line's Tits and Ass. So it's not just now, but it's worse now.
Yeah, maybe it's just more out there. It feels like it's more kind of with the clothing, and there's a lot of sort of pressure to start things younger, right? I find. So I'm wondering whether that's going to start creating younger queer girls. What do you think? Just quickly.
Why? Because they're more aware of their sexuality.
Maybe because it's in your face much earlier.
Maybe.
I think with things like Glee showing that there is a possibility to be, a popular lesbian character, then they're more likely to explore it. Whereas, when I was at school, you just couldn't. You suppress those thoughts until you leave school, and then suddenly, wow, I think I'm gay.
Well, they don't even enter your head because there's no framework.
Exactly.
All right, girls, it's been excellent talking to Danny, Jen and Emma, and we've been talking all things women, and we hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you next time on Bent TV.